Sacrifice. Have you ever heard about the first sacrifice made for God in history? No, I'm not talking about the story of Prophet Abraham and his son, nor about the ram sent down from the heavens. I'm talking about something that happened much earlier. The sons of the first man on earth, Cain and Abel. And would you believe, one of these sacrifices wasn't even an animal. It was just a handful of rotten fruits. Yes, rotten fruits. Soon, you'll hear how the tradition of sacrifice truly began. You'll hear chilling details from the time of Abraham, and even how the father of Prophet Muhammad was almost sacrificed himself. Let's begin. It all started after Adam and Eve had 41 children to 20 pairs of twins and one single child. Each twin pair had one boy and one girl. As they grew up, they were to marry twins from the next pair, not their own sibling. But 2 of Adam's sons refused this. Their names? Cain and Abel, and the girl at the center of the conflict was Cain's own twin sister. According to the custom, she was meant to marry Abel, but Cain didn't accept this. He wanted to marry her himself. So they went to their father, the prophet Adam, to resolve the matter. Adam offered a solution. If you won't listen to me, then let God decide. Each of you will offer a sacrifice to the Lord. Whoever sacrifice is accepted will marry the girl. At that time, a sacrifice wasn't slaughtering an animal like today. Instead, a person had to leave something valuable to them on top of a mountain. If it was accepted, it would disappear by morning. Abel raised sheep. He chose his best ram, decorated it carefully, and placed it on the mountain. Cain, a farmer, thought to himself, "Why would God need food?" So he gathered some spoiled fruits and left them as his offering. The next day, they returned to the mountain. Abel's ram was gone. Cain's rotten fruits were still there. God had accepted Abel's sacrifice. Abel had won the right to marry the girl, but Cain was furious. He threatened to kill his brother. Abel said, "If you kill me, I won't strike back. I fear the Lord of all worlds. If you do this, you will carry my sin along with yours and end up among the damned." But Cain didn't listen. One night, as Abel slept, Cain approached silently and crushed his brother's head with a stone. It was the first murder in history. 2 brothers fighting over a girl. And now, remember that ram Abel sacrificed? The one that disappeared? Keep that in mind, because soon you'll hear something incredible about it. But first, let's travel forward in time to the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad, Abdul Muttalib. Now, let's move forward in time to a man named Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad. After he rediscovered the sacred well of Zamzam, his name started to spread. People respected him, but not everyone was pleased. Leaders from the Quraysh tribe came to him and said, "This well belongs to all of us. We should share it." But Abdul Muttalib refused. They mocked him. "You're standing alone, with only one son. Who will defend you?" That insult stayed with him. So he raised his hands and made a vow. "If God gives me 10 sons, I will sacrifice one of them by the Kaaba." Years passed. Abdul Muttalib grew older, and by the time he turned 40, he had exactly 10 sons. Now it was time to fulfill his vow. He gathered his sons and told them everything. They were shocked. "Father, how will you decide which one of us?" He suggested a lottery. They agreed. 10 arrows were prepared, each with a name. One was drawn. The name on it was Abdullah, his youngest, his most beloved, the father of the future prophet. Abdul Muttalib's eyes filled with tears. His voice trembled. Could it be that sweet, innocent boy was meant to die? As he prepared to fulfill his vow, the people of Quraysh stepped in. They said, "If you do this, people will follow your example. You must find another way." But a vow is a vow. He couldn't simply walk away. After long discussions, a solution was proposed. Sacrifice 100 camels instead of his son. It was accepted, and so Abdullah was spared. In return, 100 camels were offered to God. The boy who would one day become the father of the prophet was saved by a sacrifice. Let's go back now, far before Ish, back to the days of Prophet Abraham. He had everything, wealth, wisdom, but there was one thing he longed for: a child. He raised his hands and prayed, "Lord, grant me a righteous son." Years passed, and finally his prayer was answered. A baby boy was born. His name was Ishmael. Time passed again. Ishmael grew into a strong young man, and just as life seemed complete, Prophet Abraham had a dream. In it, he was sacrificing his own son. At first, he ignored it. A dream is just a dream, he thought. But then it came again, and again, each night the same chilling vision. And then he knew this wasn't just a dream. It was a command from God, a test, a heavy, divine test. So one day, he turned to his son. He said, "My son, I saw in a dream that I must sacrifice you." And what did Ishmael say? He didn't run. He didn't beg. He simply looked at his father and said, "Oh, my father, if this is what God commands you to do, and do it, you will find me among the patient." They walked together to the place of sacrifice, a mountain called Mina. Abraham tied his son's hands and feet. He laid him down and covered his eyes. He didn't want to see his son's face as he did it. Then he raised the knife and pressed it to Ishmael's throat, but the knife wouldn't cut. Again he tried. Nothing. God had stopped the blade. He had accepted their submission, their faith, their obedience. And in that moment, just like God once told the fire to be cool for Abraham, he now told the knife not to harm Ishmael. At that exact moment, an angel descended from the sky. It was Gabriel, and in his arms was a ram, but not just any ram. This was the same ram that Abel had once offered, thousands of years earlier, as a pure sacrifice, the one accepted by God on the mountain. That very ram was now brought down from the heavens to be sacrificed in Ishmael's place. And that moment became the origin of the sacrifice we honor every year, the root of Eid al-Adha. Throughout history, only two people were nearly sacrificed by command of God. One was Abdullah, the prophet's father. The other, Ishmael, his ancestor. And the prophet Muhammad once said, "I am the son of two sacrificial ones."